Top is brought to you by Nissan Company and its Datsun dealers throughout BC.
In what province is North America's most famous magnetic hill?
New Brunswick.
Eric? It is New Brunswick. Name the Canadian who starred in The Rowdyman. Frank?
Gordon Pinson.
What type of animal is an ibex? Paul?
A goat.
What is the profession of Frank Augustin? Vicky?
He's a ballet dancer.
You're right. So the score is Prince George 20, Eric Hamber 10 in tonight's playoff game on Reach for the Top.
This is Harvey Dawes welcoming you to the provincial playoffs of the 1976-77 season of Reach for the Top. Tonight, 2 of our 5 zone champions will compete for the right to represent their school in the provincial championship and a chance to represent British Columbia in the national playoffs this summer. And now, here again is your host and quizmaster, Terry Garnett.
Thank you. Last week, Oak Bay defeated Vernon by a score of 320 to 265. And so Oak Bay is still alive for our BC Championship. And that 320 figure is kind of important because tonight's teams are going to try and exceed it to get a bye into our championship final. Tonight, we have 2 more zone winners in the playoffs, Prince George and Eric Hamber. And here are the students for Prince George: Paul Corcoran, Vicky Dolling, Andrew Struthers, and Frank Beatty. Here's the Eric Hamber bunch now. They are Ross Chisholm, Eric Promislow, Simon Van Norden, and Michael Potter. Students, here is an open question for a total of 30 points. Use your buzzers and bells. 30 years ago this month, on June 5th, 1947, a proposal for U.S. economic aid to post-war Europe was placed before Ross?
The Senate.
No. Question for Prince George was placed before the American Senate in Washington. That plan became law and spurred the economic recovery of Western Europe. What was it, Prince George? Frank?
The Marshall Plan.
You're right. Approximately how much money in U.S. aid went to Europe through the Marshall Plan? Eric?
$10 billion.
That's not close enough. The answer is $12 billion. Who was the U.S. president when the Marshall Plan was introduced? Eric?
Truman.
It was Truman. 40-point open question once again, and here is a different question. Numbers and colors are a necessary combination when you're watching a game of pool or playing a game of pool. Let's see if you can pocket a few points by properly matching the numbers with the colors of the balls. We all know the cue ball is white. What's the color of Paul?
Black.
All right, Eric Hamber, what is the color of the number 2 ball? Simon?
Red.
No, it's blue. 2 is blue, 3 is red. What color is number 4? Andrew?
Green.
No. Hamber? Eric?
Yellow.
It is purple. The number 6 is green. What's the number of the orange ball? Paul?
7.
No. It is Ross?
5.
5 is a good guess. Then comes number 8. Its color is, Eric?
Black.
It is black. I am glad to see you're involved in other pursuits. Here's a 25-pointer. It's a regular question with a scramble. The solve process is used to produce 2 products. Name one of them. Eric?
Hydrogen.
No. The answer, sodium carbonate or sodium bicarbonate. All right, this open question. Many things have been said about liberty in modern history. How many of these quotations do you recognize? The first one is a translation from the French. O liberty, what crimes are committed in thy name? It was a woman who said it, and it was, Simon?
Joan of Arc?
No, Madame Roland, on the way to the scaffold. Eternal spirit of the chainless mind, brightest in dungeons, liberty, Paul?
Rousseau?
No, brightest in dungeons, liberty, thou art. A poet? Hamber? Eric?
John Keats?
Lord Byron. And finally, the liberty of the individual must be thus far limited. He must not make himself a nuisance to other people. Eric?
John Stuart Mill.
You are right. Let's have a look at the score. Eric Hamber has the lead with 50. Prince George has 40. And we have a question here on rock music, contemporary and past. You could do well on this one. 5 points for each correct identification to the following songs and groups performing them. Here's the first. Right?
Black Magic Woman, Santana.
That scores all the points for Prince George. Here's the next. Simon.
Peter Frampton, Love Me Like You Do.
Okay, that's 10 for Eric Hamber. Here's the third one. Hamber, you going to guess? This is the Allman Brothers Band, and the song is High Falls. I have one more. Eric, too long. Frank.
George Benson.
No, that's the Doors, and it is Light My Fire. Well, watch your monitors, because we'll go on to something else. Once again, the question is open. The subject here, winners and losers in sports. For 10 points each, identify these athletes. This tennis player beat Ilie Nastase to win at Wimbledon. He's on your monitor. There he is, Eric.
Rod Laver.
No. Prince George, Paul.
Jan Borg.
You're right. Borg, however, went down to defeat in the U.S. Open at the hands of this player. Who is he, Frank?
Connors.
Okay. The 1976 British Open was captured by this golfer with a final round of 66. Paul?
Jacqueline.
No. Again for Eric Hamber. Ross?
Jack Nicklaus.
No, it was Johnny Miller. It was a bad year for this golf hero who ended up at, Frank?
Arnold Palmer.
Arnold Palmer is right. 115th on the pro money list. Here's a what am I question. We haven't had one of these for a little while. A possible 40 points, of course, diminishing with each clue I give you. I was founded by Mansur in 762 AD and rose to be a great Islamic city under Caliph Harun al-Rashid. The second clue. Simon?
Mecca.
No. Second clue. I flourished as the abode of peace and was sacked by the Mongols in 1258 and by Tamerlane in 1400. Frank?
Medina.
No. The third clue. Who is it? Michael?
Byzantium.
I am on the Tigris River. The Turks. Ross?
Baghdad.
That scores 20 for Eric Hamber. The game is tied. Prince George has 80. Eric Hamber has 80. Here's an open question for 30 points. Canadian locales often have names of Indian origin. How many of these are you familiar with? Winnipeg, the oldest. Eric?
Murky Water.
All right. Or Muddy Waters. You didn't need much of the question, did you? A river and province in the prairies takes its name from an Indian word for big, Frank?
Saskatchewan.
That's right, the word for big, angry water. The name of this famous Canadian city is thought to be the Algonquin word for strait or sudden narrowing because of its riverside. Eric?
Quebec City.
Right, because of its riverside location. 35-pointer. Try the scramble. The New York Film Critics Award for Best Picture of 1976 went to a film directed by Alan Pakula. Eric?
Taxi Driver.
No. What was it, Prince George? Frank?
Network.
It was All the President's Men. These are incidents from recent news stories, and another open question for a total of 30 points. I'll give you a name. You describe the incident. The Taras Shevchenko and the Antanas Snechkus. Michael?
There were Russian ships impounded in the United States.
You are right for violating the 200-mile fishing limit. Here's the next name. Mario Tanasi. The event? The Italian defense minister indicted for accepting a $125,000 bribe. How about Luciano Lama, February 17th? His speech to Italian students triggered riots at Rome. The score is Prince George 90, Eric Hamber 110. And it's time for our special question. So I'm going to invite Andrew Struthers of Prince George and Eric Promislow of Eric Hamber down to center stage where we have for the students a mystery table. They are going to play Kim's game. On the table, under the cover right now, the students are going to find a variety of items. When the cover is lifted, they'll have 20 seconds to memorize as many of them as possible. Then they'll turn their backs to the table and write them down on the blackboard. Fair enough? Would you each take a corner of the cover and take it back carefully, please? And let's start the count right now. 10 seconds. 5. Okay, let's hit the blackboard. And don't turn back or you'll both turn into pillars of salt or something like that. Here are some of the articles the students are trying to recall, and doing pretty well with it, too. Okay, keep going, Andrew. Don't look around. We have Eric Promislow down on one knee. 10 seconds. And 3, 2, 1. Time right now. Let's hear it for both students, Andrew Struthers and Eric Promislow. Now you can look again at the table and see all the things that you were trying to recall while we turn it over to our judges for scoring. We'll be back with more questions and answers following these words from our sponsor.
Chief, the suspect's car is Datsun's.
Taste great right now. Dairyland ice creams. Enjoy them all year round.
Our mystery table turned out to be a very closely contested affair between Andrew Struthers and Eric Promislow as they elbowed their way around the table and over to the blackboard and actually scored the same number of points, 40. So 40 more for Prince George, 40 more for Eric Hamber. One more item I'm going to mention before we get back to the questions, and that is 5 points less for Eric Hamber on the rock music question. Peter Frampton sang, "Do You Feel Like We Do?" The answer I received from Simon was, "Love Me Like You Do." So our judges are very hard tonight. Halftime score, Eric Hamber, 145, Prince George, 130. And here are some short snappers as we get back to action. In which Canadian city is the University of Western Ontario? Eric?
London.
It is London. With which Florentine family do we associate, Paul?
Medici's.
Medici is right. We associate the Church of San Lorenzo in Florence. In which African country is there actually a Timbuktu? Andrew?
Uganda.
No. Try it, Eric.
Mali.
It is Mali. In a play by Shakespeare, what country was ruled by King Claudius? Frank? Too
France.
long. Eric Hamber? Eric?
Denmark.
It was Denmark. The play, of course, was Hamlet. What is the scientific expression for the highest temperature at which a gas can be liquefied simply by compressing it? Simon?
Critical temperature.
Critical is right. Here's an open question for 40 points. And for 10 points each, tell me which country leads the world in the production of the following minerals or mineral compounds? Tin. The country, Paul?
Bolivia.
No. Ross?
Malaya.
It is Malaysia. Is that close enough? 5. Okay. How about nickel? The country is, Michael?
Canada.
Canada is correct. Manganese. The country? Simon.
United States.
That's not it. It is, Paul?
USSR.
The USSR is correct. And the last one is gold. Paul?
South Africa.
Okay, here's a 35-pointer and scramble on this. What allotropic form of oxygen can be created by, Michael?
Ozone.
Ozone is right. It can be created by forcing a strong electric charge through oxygen. Eric Hamber, what is the chemical formula
O3.
for ozone?
O3.
Right. Complete this chemical equation. 3O2 plus electrical energy yields what?
303.
No, 203. Oh, 203. No points on that. What modern convenience is said to be destroying the Earth's ozone layer.
Aerosol gas.
That's correct. 30-pointer coming up. The question is open, and hold it. Here, let me tell you about it first. In each of the following, give me the final words missing from the quote. Trust in God and... Eric.
He will trust in you.
Oh, no. That's not it. It's George. Paul?
Love thy neighbor.
No, trust in God and keep your powder dry. Here's the next one. In this world, nothing is sure but... Frank?
Death and taxes.
You're right. Benjamin Franklin said it. What this country needs is a good... Simon?
And cigar.
Yes, sir. Here's a 25-pointer. Here's the scramble. What Spaniard discovered the... Vicky. 5-point penalty for Prince George. Here's the question for Eric Hamber. What Spaniard discovered the Mississippi River in 1541? Answer? Michael.
Ponce de Leon.
No, it was Hernando de Soto. Watch your monitors. Here's an art question worth 40 points. Identify the artists who painted these famous works of the 20th century. And here's the first one. Andrew.
Rousseau.
Rousseau is right. Try this one now. It's a little tougher. Eric?
Chirico.
Chirico is correct. Here's the third. Eric.
Dali.
Right on. And the last one is this one. Eric.
Jackson Pollock.
Okay. Okay. Not bad. Eric Hamber has 265. Prince George, 175. And I have some vocabulary builders for you. 8 words. 5 points for correct pronunciation. 5 more if you can give me an acceptable definition, and I will try not to say any of them. The first one is Paul Corcoran's Here's the word.
Egress.
Egress is right. What does it mean, Paul?
It's to go backwards.
No, in fact, to go out or forth. Ross? How about this one?
Ambivalent. Ambivalent.
Ambivalent, actually. Would you call that a vowel slip? Okay, no points on that one. But what is the definition, Ross?
Wishy-washy. So, no.
I suppose, I guess, in the nature of compromise, it means simultaneous attraction and repulsion. Is that wishy-washy? I suppose it could be. Vicky, here's yours.
Lichen.
Yes.
It's
What is it?
like a plant.
Yeah, small plants. For Eric?
Indigenous.
Good.
Native.
And it means?
Native.
Yes. Andrew, this word.
Petulant.
And it means?
Flamboyant. Silly.
No, actually it means irritable or sulky. Simon, here's one for you.
Ensconced.
Again, Simon?
Ensconced.
Ensconced is right, and what is it?
Angered.
No, it means placed or settled securely, as in ensconced on a throne. Frank, this one.
Crustacean.
And what is it?
And it's a type of sea animal with a shell.
That's right. Michael, have one more.
Affable.
What's affable?
Likeable.
Yeah, pleasant and friendly. You did well with those, and the score is Eric Hamber. 295. Prince George, 205. The question here is open, and it's on novels about animals. From these quotations, tell me the titles of the books. Mama got up and put her arms across my shoulder. He's been bitten by a mad wolf. Frank?
No.
Okay, we can't take a chance, son, she sobbed. It'll be you or me or little Arliss or Elizabeth next. It is, Ross?
Yeller. Old Yeller.
Old Yeller is right, by Fred Gibson. How about this one? From 2,000 feet, he tried again, rolling into his dive. Beak straight down, wings full out. Paul?
Jonathan Livingston Seagull.
Yes, sir. He kept thinking about the bird downstairs, asleep in the fern. He kept thinking about Snowbell and about the way Snowbell's eyes, Andrew. Too long, about the way Snowbell's eyes gleamed. Finally, unable to stand it any longer, he switched on the light. There's just something in me that doesn't trust a cat, he muttered. The novel? Eric?
The Aristocats.
No, it isn't. It's Stuart Little. The novel is Stuart Little by E.B. White, and I have one more for you. It was a little after Kniferith or noon. The whole Warren were underground, mostly asleep. Eric?
Watership Down.
That is Watership Down. Okay, here's a 25-pointer. This is the scramble. The year was 1957. On June 21st, a new Canadian Prime Minister took office. Frank?
Diefenbaker.
Diefenbaker is right. We have 5 minutes to go. These questions are for Prince George. On January 29th, 1957, the British Prime Minister resigned. Who was he?
Adler.
No, it was Anthony Eden. On March 6th of that year, the Gold Coast was granted independence from Great Britain. What is its present name?
Ghana.
It is Ghana. Here's a 30-pointer. Question is open. And for 10 points each, I'd like you to translate these well-known Latin phrases. This is the motto of a film company, and it always appears on a crest below. Vicky?
Art for art's sake.
That's right, ars gratia artis. A sound proposal from the classical author Juvenal. Mens sana in corpore... Ross?
A healthy mind and a healthy body.
That's right, mens sana in corpore sano. Cicero wasn't happy with the political situation when he said this. Ross?
Carthage must be destroyed.
No. When he said this, Prince George, o tempora, o mores. What did he say in English, if he'd said it in English? What times, what habits? We have 4 minutes to go. 35-pointer, here's the scramble. What is unique about a word that is a palindrome? Simon.
Same spelled backwards as forwards.
That's right. Eric Hamber. Identify these palindromes. Midday. The palindrome would be noon, right? How about rulers of Iran?
Shaw's.
And a carpenter's tool?
Level.
Which?
Level.
Level is right. I hope that's the first answer you gave me. Here's a 50-pointer. It's open. Name the premiers of each of these provinces. Nova Scotia? Frank?
Hatfield.
No. Who is it? Eric?
Gerald Regan.
It is Gerald Reagan. Manitoba is the next, and Eric is back again with
Schreier.
Newfoundland. Eric? Frank. I'll take an answer from Frank. Moores is right. Actually, this is a small electronic failure we had, and I saw your knuckle go down first. The next one is Saskatchewan. Eric?
Alan Blakeney.
And the last one, wait a minute. Prince Edward Island. Simon?
Hatfield.
No. Prince Edward Island. Vicky?
Alex Campbell.
It is Campbell. We have 3 minutes to go. The score is Eric Hamber, 390. Prince George has 260. Here's one on abbreviations. If you're planning to go into business, you'll have to become familiar with certain standard abbreviations. I'll give you the abbreviation, and you tell me what it stands for. The first one, NSF. Vicki.
Non-sufficient funds.
How about IPT? Paul.
Sorry.
Okay, Hamber, it stands for interest, principal, taxes. FOB. Eric?
Free on board.
Okay. I think we have time for this one. 25-pointer. Regular. Scramble. Who is the author of the Waverley novels? It is Simon.
Agatha Christie.
No. Sir Walter Scott. Open question on mining. What product is mined at each of these mines in the Kootenay-Okanagan area? Fording Company at Elkford. The product, Simon.
Iron.
No. Andrew.
Asbestos.
It is coal. The Brenda mine at Peachland. Ross.
Copper.
Copper and molybdenum. And the Phoenix mine near Grand Forks. Frank.
Silver.
No. Try it, Hamber. Eric.
Aluminum.
It is copper once again. It's time for our short snappers because we have less than 2 minutes to go. Hamber has 410. Prince George has 270. And let's see how you do with these. What is the official residence of the President of France? Andrew. Okay, do you know, Ross?
The Élysées Palace.
You're right. You all know that little Abner married Daisy May. What was her maiden name? Eric?
Yoakum.
No, it was not. That was little Abner's maiden name, or his real name. Frank?
Dogpatch.
No, it was Scraggs. 778 years ago, an English king died in battle near Limoges in France. Frank?
Harold.
No, who was he? Eric Hamber. Michael?
Henry V.
It was Richard the Lion-Hearted. Name the tissue or gland that releases thyrotropin. Paul?
Thymus.
No. It is, Eric?
The thyroid
The
gland.
pituitary. We have 1 minute. Who was the architect who designed the Empress Hotel? Did you know? His name, Rattenbury, Francis M. Rattenbury. Named the only 2 independent countries in Africa at the start of World War I. Ross.
South Africa and Liberia.
I'll give you 5 points. I won't say which one is right. Paul.
Liberia and... Sorry.
Ethiopia was the other one, not South Africa. What is the temperature scale based upon the idea of absolute? Eric?
Kelvin.
Kelvin's based on absolute 0. What is an Alcazar? Frank?
Oh, no.
All right, Hamber. Simon?
It's a fair?
No, it's a Moorish palace in Spain. The National Indian Brotherhood recently released the results of a study showing dangerously high levels of arsenic in what Canadian gold mining community? Frank?
Yellowknife.
Yellowknife is right. What historical event that shocked the world took place in the town of Ekaterinburg? Vicki?
The murder of the Tsar of Russia and his family.
That's right, the entire royal family. What is meant by the term, there's the bell, and that's the end of it. Eric Hamber having a big night in the town with 435. Prince George, 290. And as usual, we'll check the figures and return with the official result in just a moment.
Chief, the suspect's car is Datsun's new...
That's where the Dairyland reputation for high-quality milk and dairy foods has its beginning.
No change in the score. So now it is official. Eric Hamber with 435. Prince George with 290. Winners, Eric Hamber. Here they are once again. Ross Chisholm, Eric Promislow, Simon Van Norden, and Michael Potter. Here's the Prince George team one more time. Paul Corcoran, Vicki Dalling, Andrew Struthers, and Frank Beatty. Good team, good sports. Now then, watch closely. Eric Hamber, by virtue of scoring 435 points in tonight's playoff, vaults right into the BC Championship Finals over there. Next week, we have the semifinal match between Oak Bay and West Vancouver, and I hope we see you then on Reach for the Top.
Next week, Reach for the Top will be brought to you by Dairyland and Pacific Milk. tonight's winning team will receive a $1,500 cash scholarship, as well as the CBC Championship trophy and individual gold watches. The runners-up will receive a $500 cash scholarship. Our provincial champion will take part in the National Reach for the Top competition to be held in Calgary, Alberta this summer. And now, here again is your host and quizmaster, Terry Garner.
Thank you. We started at the beginning of the season with 40 schools entered. We are now down to 2. They're the only remaining undefeated teams, and they are Eric Hamber and Oak Bay playing off for the BC Championship tonight. Here are the students for Eric Hamber: Ross Chisholm, Eric Promislow, Simon Van Norden, and Michael Potter. For Oak Bay, Roger Cluley, Terry Barnett, Pauline Bunn, and Alan Horgan. And with both teams safely on the board, let's go to a 40-point open question on places in British Columbia, each one worth 10 points. Founded in 1806 by Simon Fraser, this community was once known as the capital of New Caledonia. Terry?
New Westminster.
No. Simon?
Victoria.
Fort St. James. In 1972, a satellite Earth station became operational at what Vancouver Island community? Eric?
Comox.
No. Roger?
Duncan.
Lake Cowichan. This Kootenai city has taken on a Bavarian look. And, Eric?
Kimberley.
It is Kimberley. The longest chairlift in North America is found at the Todd Mountain Ski Area. Eric?
Vernon.
No. 33 miles northeast of what BC city, Alan?
Kamloops.
It is Kamloops. Here's a 25-pointer. Regular question, here's the scramble. In what device would you find a chapter ring, a going train, and an anchor escapement? Terry?
Sewing machine.
No. Michael?
A clock?
It is a clock. Eric Hamber, these questions are for you. Galileo showed that a pendulum's period of oscillation was constant, but who was responsible for applying this phenomenon to clocks? It was Huygens in 1658. The anchor escapement was an English invention in 1675 and resulted in the production of what popular and accurate clock style. It was
A pocket watch.
No, it was the grandfather clock. Okay, here's a 30-pointer. Once again, it's open. The subject is current affairs. There have been many deaths of prominent leaders in the past few months. These questions are about some of them. The British Foreign Secretary, who was Eric?
Anthony Eden.
No, who was deeply involved in negotiations over the future of Rhodesia, Roger.
Crossland.
Anthony Crossland is correct. Archbishop Yanani Luam died under mysterious circumstances. Roger?
Idi Amin.
In what country, Eric? Ross?
Uganda.
It was?
Uganda.
Uganda is right. That was Eric Hamber getting the points. What is the name of the leftist leader in Lebanon who was murdered in Ross?
Sorry.
In March? Roger?
Jumblatt.
That's right. Score is Eric Hamber 35, Oak Bay 50. The question is worth 25 points, and try this scramble. For a simple machine, what is defined as the ratio of resistance to effort? Eric?
Efficiency.
No. The answer is mechanical advantage, actual mechanical advantage. All right, here's something different. Name the year for a possible 40 points. Here's the first clue. The Italian-Turkish War began on September 29th. Roger?
1912.
No. Second clue. The first transcontinental airplane flight took place from New York to Pasadena. In Britain, the Parliament Act reduced the power of the House of Lords to a suspensory veto. Terry?
1911.
1911 scores. 30 points for Oak Bay. Watch your monitors. The question is on the largest living mammals, whales. Open to any member of either team. 10 points for each correct answer, and I'd like you to identify these species. This one? Ross?
Blue whale.
No. Once again for Oak Bay, Pauline?
Baleen.
It is the humpback. Tom, you might check for alternates just to make sure. Here's the next one. Roger?
Sperm.
That is the sperm. And one more. Is this one? Simon?
Killer whale.
It is the killer whale. You split the points.
Sure.